Welcome to the Undefining Beauty Podcast, a space to invite more beauty into our lives. I am Andrea Belluso, and on this podcast, I will have some very special guests and friends of mine to explore what beauty could be that we have not yet considered. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this podcast of Undefining Beauty with my wonderful special guest, Sarah Grandinetti. Hi, Sarah.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for accepting the invitation. And I mean, it was so obvious that I had to talk to you about this because we've had so many amazing conversations about beauty, about receiving, about a lot of other things. And every conversation we've had on this topic, wherever it went, was amazing. So I would like to take this like 10 steps further and really let's see where it goes. So if I may ask one simple question, what is beauty to you?
That is such a great question. Well, in my beauty classes, my tagline is choosing to live undefined. Because really what access consciousness invites us to is to find the beauty in everything. And so when we don't limit something with the definition, when we don't conclude something, when even the shittiest things are happening in your life, you can find the beauty in them if you look for them. And being that our points of view create our reality, it's really what points of view are you using to determine what is beautiful and what is not. Some of the most beautiful things that have been created on our planet have come from destruction first. And so if you take that on a wider scale, I mean, a lot of people think that a beauty class is about, let's get your aesthetic right or all of that, but it's really, the breaking apart of all of the places that you have limited yourself with your own points of view from your experiences and what you've bought from others and all of that, so that you can see the beauty in everything. I don't know if that actually answers your question, but
it totally answered my question, and it's pretty much where I'm at as well. It's this thing that is so much broader than the physical aspect of beauty, and it actually embraces every single area of our lives and everything, basically everything on the universe, right? And like you said, like when we go into looking at the limitations and where we create ugliness, basically. It's very hard sometimes to actually see the beauty in it. But like you say, if you really are present with everything, then you actually start getting there and you start scratching the surface and you actually see the beauty in whatever funkiness is going on for you. So yes, I totally get it. And I mean, I've had some great conversations with Gary, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. And one of the conversations we had was exactly about this, because we were talking about, I called him one night and I said, hey, there was a chat where somebody actually wrote that fascists have no taste. And I was like, interesting point of view. They have their point of view, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Now, so can you say something more about that thing, which is that aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting rather than being an interesting point of view as a limitation of beauty? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think since we're little, we are taught by the energetics of our family, by the aesthetics of our family, by the culture, the geography of our family, what we receive or see as beautiful. And then this reality comes in with all of these other layers of like what you see on TV and what's being put on the front of the magazine and what's on social media now. And you start to not even like cognitively align and agree and go, yes, this body type is beautiful, or this flower of this color is the most beautiful flower, or the skin tone is beautiful, whatever. Like you start to just go, okay, that I want to be that. And anywhere you aren't that, you have to now judge and try to hide or fix or anything like that. And so if you line on one side as something as being aligned and agree with something as being the right beauty, the right type, then you're simultaneously resisting and reacting to anything that is not that. And so with the tool of interesting point of view, you start to, and this tool is described as interesting point of view. I have this point of view, or interesting point of view. They have this point of view. And you say it over and over until it lightens up. is to get you from from a place of a fixed point of view about something, and that could be about your beauty, about others' beauty, about the world's beauty, and
Yeah.
give you the space to include it all and not have to kind of choose a side, if you will.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And you touched something there that I would like to talk more about, and it's this thing of trying to fit in, which is something that, especially since social media's, came into our lives so presently, most people are actually trying to fit into some tiny box. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you see it in everyday life as well?
I love so much about how these interviews come in the consciousness play, because one of my favorite statements of all time is, why are you trying so hard to fit in when you were born to stand out? Because the beauty of us, the uniqueness of us, and the difference of us will actually never fit in, but it can be included. And what we do when we try to fit in, and you just imagine fitting in like a little box that was written by someone else or crafted by someone else, you have to cut off parts of you in order to match this thing that someone else created. If you're being you and you are asking dynamically to be your brand of beauty, then you create whatever is your reality with beauty, not by the definitions of others and what they are projecting on the wall as beautiful. And so fitting in is a lie. And at the same time, what I know, Andrea, and I know you know a lot about this too, is like that inherent awareness of what oneness is, and we're seeking it everywhere from day one. Like, where are the kids that like want to play on the jungle gym like me? Where are the singing kids, or the this, whatever your things that excite you. You look to be with like people, because fitting in is actually, from Sarah's interesting point of view, an inherent sense of what we all know as oneness, but we have this fabrication in this reality that oneness means sameness. And we have to look the part. We have to be, pretend to be the thing in order to be received. And what Access invites us to really is to let all that shit go and allow you to be all of you and know that you're included.
That is so brilliant. Because I mean, that I'm sure that there's so many people that actually glump this thing of oneness equals, sameness, and where it's not at all. So yeah, wow. Thank you so much for that. It's really this thing when you talk about it of oneness is actually embracing what everybody chooses at every given second of their life, right? And the freedom also of changing. It's not because I choose to be whatever I choose to be right now that I'm going to be the same in 5 seconds, right?
Yeah, totally. And I love that you brought that up with including change, because how many of us are stuck by like some image where we got it right, some moment in time, like the people who are like still trying to be their high school self because they were right in high school, or you had the right body shape at this age, and then now if you make something right, you can't allow it to change. That's the hook of right judgment. If you make it can't change, because then you're wrong in that
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
And so, being willing to even be with our bodies and our beauty and the gift we are to the world, and have that be a malleable process of ever going, is that even words? Is that English? I don't know. Constant change.
Yeah.
With the inclusion idea, with the awareness of like, hey, I'm going to be different tomorrow for sure. And I'm not going to hold on to yesterday to depict the future. I'm going to keep changing and keep choosing.
And you touched a button there that is very, very alive and present in my life right now, with exactly what you said. And I'm not going to go further into that. But what I would like to address is that those changes can be so fucking uncomfortable at times, because even though we really, try to be in allowance and interesting point of view and allowing change to come in, but somehow, at least I do this because I'm not perfect. But then again, I'm a man, so we're not
You're
perfect
like
at all.
so close to perfect. You're
Exactly.
like almost there.
Or yeah, right. Not. And we have all these projections and expectations that are actually hidden from us. We don't even dare talking about it, because I realized now, recently, in the last month and a half, that I had a lot of projections and expectations in a very specific area of my life. And when change showed up, there was not matching what I had been projecting, then I went into total freak out mode and like, wow, I actually thought that I got that area in my life so perfect and so almost perfect. And it was almost absolutely perfect. And now it's not. And because it's not showing up in that way, I'm judging it as wrong. And there, I would like to quote Gary Douglas again, that said another brilliant thing, which is beauty is everywhere in the universe and ugliness is created. And I can really see how I create so much fucking ugliness with all these judgments and point of views and expectations and projections of everything that has been, that has changed. So it's like, wow. So yeah, this conversation is like going everywhere.
Yeah. You know, Dane, in his Being You Changing the World book, I'm going to roughly quote, I'm paraphrasing, but he says that judgment is the greatest toxic waste on the planet. And what I find really interesting is that most people, when you talk to them about judgment, it's like wrong and bad judgment. And that's the thing that's like wrong and bad. That like
Yeah.
the judgment where you're judging something negatively is the thing that we need to get away from. And what I know is that bad judgment is something we're often like, hey, get me out of this. I don't want to judge like other people or myself as bad and wrong anymore. So I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be judgy Judy, you know? And
Yeah.
whereas it's our right judgments, like we spoke about a moment ago, but it's our right judgments that lock us up even more, because those are the things that we will not let go of, that we will fight to the death.
Yeah.
And that will lock us up way further. And also and when something shows up that doesn't match your right judgment, you'll go into total freak out because you're like, wait a minute, I have this right, you know, how dare that thing change? Yeah.
Totally. And that is so obvious in my life right now. So it's like, this is so actual for me. It's like, wow. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, and the right judgments, most people consider those as a good thing and something to keep in place and add more to, when in actual fact, you're just adding more judgment, more destruction, more separation, more, contraction. Yeah. Wow. This is brilliant.
And the rightness also keeps us away from choice. So what I've noticed, like the places where I make myself right, I don't look for another choice because I've like landed somewhere or I've succeeded somewhere. So I'm like you said, you know, we will plateau in our rightness because it's like, I finally got to the top of the castle or whatever, and I'm going to stay here and I'm going to stand here. But how many things then can show up to be greater, but we've decided we've already, won the race, that we won't even perceive them coming into our worlds as possibilities, and we'll actually do destructive things to keep them out so we can maintain our our tower of rightness. And so it's a cool place to look at, like if someone's listening to this podcast and is like wanting to kind of start to undefine, it's a really great place to
exactly. And yeah, it is really to undefine and to really be in that space of undefining everything you're judging as good or bad, so using judgment in general. And I mean, yeah, if I may give a little tip of where I'm trying to go, where I catch myself with the insanity of this moment that I'm in, is I will be in my insanity and I will judge that insanity, and fortunately that judgment is getting shorter and shorter, that period of judgment, until I catch myself and I go, okay, hold on a second, so I'm judging the judgment, so that's just keeping me in the loop, basically. And so when I'm trying to, if I look at all the possibilities, if I really try and find the beauty behind all this that I've judged as wrong because it was not matching the energy of the positive judgments that I had in place, that for me were like, I'm here, look at me, I've done this part of my life right, everything else is shit, but this one is great. And it's just that one that I judged as great that is the one that is fucking me up right now. So it is a massive exercise, and it's really like looking, when I'm in that space of looking at possibilities, I see them. I see what can be created, and I perceive that also that all of this is actually what I've been asking for, that is just showing up in a completely different way. And I could not get there actually until the mother of my son had a conversation with me about this thing that I'm not going to talk about here. And she said, do you realize that where you're at now, You're exactly where you wanted to be from the minute that we met many, 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 many years ago. And right now, you are here, you're judging the crap out of it, you're complaining, you're playing pathetic, instead of going like, wow, it did not show up as I thought it would. And what the fuck else is possible now? And get excited about that. And that is something that I would like you to talk more about, is allowing the universe and trusting the universe to deliver exactly what matches your energy and not your projections.
That's a good one. And it also is an exercise, learning to trust is a very vulnerable journey. And one of the things that I talk about, like in my classes, is look back on anything 5 years ago, 10 years ago in your past that you have kind of what the world would say overcome, and start to pull out the gifts of that trauma, if you will, like the trial and tribulation. That was the worst thing that could happen at the moment, but what are the gifts in it? And because hindsight, they say, is 2020. So when we look back, I've had so many things happen in my life that in the moment just felt like they should break me. Like whether it be abuse or, situations with money or different types of trials and tribs, because I loved those for a very long time. And I said trials and tribulations. But when I look back, I'm like, wow, that actually created the demand for me to choose this. Wow, getting fired from that job or getting broken up with in that relationship or receiving that abuse actually had me create that. Oh, and I can be this friend or this space for a person because I actually championed that abuse and was never a victim to it. Wow, what if everything that shows up in my life is a gift? And what if I could be with that space as it's happening? And so for me, it was like starting to close the gap on the hindsight. Like, so maybe, hindsight comes in sometimes 2 or 3 years after, maybe for others, it's 10 years after, if you are in a demand to not carry over things into your future, because a lot of people want to hold on to that grudge. So if you're that person, maybe look there at the value of the grudge, because it's really only hanging on to you. But when I started to close the gap of the hindsight being that long, I can now have it in the moment and go to, wow, okay, cool. This is unsettling. The ground is moving underneath me. I'm looking for that handlebar in the car. My parents used to call it the oh shit handle, where you like grab on because you're going off course, and go, okay, cool. Like, what if my course was not the most valuable product, which is your projection? And what is showing up here? That if I were to get present and receive whatever the fuck this is, would give me that awareness that I usually am not willing to have until I'm completely out of something. What if I could have it now? And from that place, activate the being you magic of adding what I'm aware of in the moment to co-create with the chaos that the universe is inviting. Wow. A lot of us mistake chaos and havoc, and we're like, okay, the dust is rising, or things are moving and shaking, and we must get it back. And we mistake that as havoc. And in Access, they invite us to really look at the element of chaos and how that's how new things get created, because everything gets thrown up in the air. So are you in one of those moments, and can you be present so you can activate your unique magic and possibilities to kind of steer it towards the next thing that's going to show up for you?
That is so brilliant, Sarah. That is absolutely amazing. And it's actually talking right at me. So I would like, and I think it's talking to a lot of people, because, a lot of people I talk to are in similar situations, maybe not in the same part of life that I'm in, the same area of life, but a similar energy of unsettlement. Hold on, my camera is saying something. Hold on a sec. I'll have to cut this one. Okay. Right. Did that come up on your screen as well? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll cut that one out.
That's okay.
So
hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Cut.
We cut there. Okay. So yeah, there's so many people that are in a total discomfort zone right now, be it because of relationships or money or jobs or health or whatever it is, and a big reminder for me is that something that I talk a lot about in my classes is the discomfort zone actually being where you want to be if you want to be creating something. Because if you're in the discomfort zone, then you're actually in a brand new space. That's why it's not comfortable. If you're in the comfort zone, on the other hand, which is where we tend to lay back and be satisfied. Oh, I hate that word, satisfied. That's when we actually are not creating anything. And it's comfortable only because we recognize everything there. Everything is familiar. Everything is past reference points. And so there's nothing new there. So do you actually mean with all of this that everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and maybe nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be?
Absolutely. And yeah, I think like if, you know, Dane talks about being greater than others and never as great as you. And that's often like a comfort zone that I find myself in, is like, I still have this tie to like, well, I'm better than, I'm creating more than most people around me. So, you know, I can probably ride this wave a little longer. And I've been looking at in the last like week and a half is really looking at what back doors I still have in my life. Like, what am I still plan being? Like, where am I still doing exit strategy so that if it gets too comfortable, I can just back out and just be just great than others and not as great as me. And that has activated a different level of creation in the past, even just few days of like, okay, cool. What else can I create? What else can I create? What else can I create? Because riding a wave of the comfort zone is a dangerous place. If you really are somebody who wants to create a magnificent life, that comfort zone is a dangerous little booger. But if you're staying in question always, then I guess what I would say is that at this point, if I'm not uncomfortable, then I have to start activating question, because staying too long in one place is actually not creating what I'd like to have in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I realize also how much I was functioning from that as well, about, you know, being satisfied to, you know, for lack of a better word, of being better than others, and totally aware of not being as great as I actually am. And if you haven't seen the latest movie about Bowie, David Bowie, go and watch it, because for me that was a massive wake up call of how about I thought I was, you know, so different. I thought that I was creating so much and whatever, when in actual fact I wasn't even touching the tip of the iceberg. So that is a great invitation. If you guys listening or watching this in the future are looking for inspiration, watch that movie. And maybe listen to what Sarah said here.
I haven't seen it, so I'll have to go check it out too.
You would love it. You would love it. Talk about being undefined, undefinable, completely out there, and following the energy and changing all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're so taught that change is the thing to be avoided. And as soon as you get somewhere, make sure nothing changes.
Yeah.
And it's a recipe for normal.
Totally.
You know, because this and it's not wrong. It's absolutely not wrong. And it freaking works for some people. And
Yeah.
if you are one of those seekers of the world and you're like been trying to seek out normal, there's your recipe. Get one, find some amount of success and then work the rest of your life to make sure nothing changes.
Yep.
Knowing full well it probably will, but you know, some of us like to chase the tail. I would just say that so many people in my life, family members and extended family members, I don't fit anymore because I can't stay the thing that they need me to be or want me to be. And so trying to fit anymore, it worked for a little while and it doesn't work anymore. But those that like truly have my back and would really like to see me fly wherever the flying takes me, have shown up differently even in their own lives and what they're going after, because I broke the mold of normal, or of, you know, that this is the and what I would this is the epitome of success. And what I would say, meaning like the normal life, I broke that already.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that the invitation that is, because Dr. Dane here is my brother. He's one of the co-creators of Access Consciousness with Gary Douglas. And he broke that well before I even showed up on the scene, which showed me that it was possible. So as you look at all these things that we're talking about today, and the undefining and getting out of judgment and right and wrong and all of that stuff, like, what invitation are you for a totally different future that you haven't acknowledged?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Sarah. This has been absolutely amazing. And I hope that you guys watching or listening to this got as inspired as I did, and possibly even more, if that's possible, because I'm totally like blown away with this conversation with Sarah. And Sarah, if people want to find out more about your beauty class and more about you, where do they go?
The easiest way is sarahgrandinetti.com. I mean, you can go to beingyoubeauty.com, but it will land you on sarahgrandinetti.com. So you might as well just go to sarahgrandinetti.com. And I'm on social at Sarah Grandinetti as well. So,
brilliant. And you guys will find it down here somewhere, or there.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Invitation. I'm grateful.
Thank you so much, Sarah. What else is possible now? Bye now.